What's good? All right, we back after a great weekend. What's going on, man? Gregory Wyatt said, "Troll reporting, brothers and sisters, greetings." Man, I'm reading what I'm thinking. I'm reading what I'm thinking instead of what's written. Greeting, brothers and sisters. Troll hunter on deck. Mr. Shelton in the building. What's going on? Drew Titan said, "F. Pauli, player Pauli." I got double volume going on here. All right, let me fix that. Salute to you, H-Town. Mass Arms in the building. Dre's Finest. What's good? Gregory Wyatt says, smash that like button. Yes, sir. Smash that like button on the way in. Oh, man. Paulette still made AB beat his girl up. Shamzilla. I ain't seen you in a minute, man. About ready to get it popping. Salute to the one and only Fannon International Boxing. What's going on? Lowest common denominator boxing, home of the demographic. What's good? Kevin Childs, what's going on, man? Steve J, what's going on? Yeah, man. Pauli Malignaggi's bugging, dude. Just stop. Hey, Pauli. Oh, Paulette's still mad AB beat up his girl. Nah, he's just a fucking idiot that doubles down on the shit that he says. It's like that other fucking idiot. Like, it's like you get to see two opposite sides of stupidity from Pauli Malignaggi and Ishe Smith. Man, when you wrong, just fucking fess up and say you said some shit you shouldn't have said and apologize for it, man, and keep it pushing. But it would be kind of hard for Pauli to apologize out of his way out of oppression doesn't exist. Racism doesn't exist. Man, get the fuck out of here, man. And the killer is, my understanding, what's going on, Mr. Mont in the building, man? Much love in that super chat, man. Thank you. Now, let me address a couple things. First and foremost, the fact that the young man, is his last name Aubrey? Mahoob Aubrey? The fact that he might have looked into a house has nothing to do with those guys chasing him down and shooting him. You don't have the right to chase somebody down the street and shoot them because they stopped and looked into a house, or because you think that they might have robbed a house. Doesn't matter. You don't have the right. You're not a policeman. You do not have the right. You don't have the right to go chase somebody down. So literally, this dude could have broken into somebody's house. He could have broken into the house, and he could have stole a TV, and he could have been running down the street with a TV. Those guys still don't have the right to arrest him. They're not police officers. And they don't have the right to shoot him because they're not police officers. So what difference does it make where he stopped and what he did and all that? He was running down the street, and they followed him, and then they chased him. Why would that make it racism on the other part? Now, I'm glad that dumbass Pauli removed his tweet, but Black Fight Fan TV did me one solid. Always check out Black Fight Fan TV's channel, all his uploads. And what he put out there was this. I saw the tweet from Black Fight Fan. So let's go to the actual tweet. I think that should be on his community page, right? I think that's going to be on the community page. All right, so where is this damn thing? I don't see it. I don't see it anymore. Man, where is it? I don't see it anymore on there. I thought it was on his community page. I know that I saw it. I know I saw it. Or I might have seen it. No, what I saw it. I'm sorry. I saw it on the video. Y'all got to excuse me. Give me 1 second so I can go to the actual video that he did yesterday where it had it on there. So, because I want to read this absolute fucking mind-boggling stupidity, dude. Damn, almost fucking ridiculous as me. All right, yeah, here it is.
Black Fight Fan TV.
So, all right. Pauli Malignaggi, you might want to check the new evidence on the case. Player, Pauli, stop calling black people player. Okay? And if you're gonna do the shit, put an ER in the motherfucker, dude. You don't talk like that. Might want to check the new evidence on the case, player. Racism might not be made up after all. Whoever fucking claimed it was made up, besides your dumb ass. It might be that it comes from the opposite side, side you claim it does. Question, man. If they said that that the guy had broken head, that they saw him looking into a house and then he ran away, and the guy shot him, and the two guys chased him and shot him. What about that would make the guy that was running a racist and that the guys that chased him not racist? I'm really confused. Underground Asylum said, Fannon, salute since last week now. I'm not getting your notifications, man. Click on the just try to click on the just click on the subscribe on the bell icon and then re-click it. Click it, then select all, then re-click it. If you have to subscribe, unsubscribe, subscribe again, and then click it just to see if it'll fix itself. There's really not much we can do about it. You know what I mean? It's just going to be what it is, man. You saw the fights. It was amazing. They had heart. No, I didn't see the fights. I was listening to the stupid argument that I ain't supporting. Was that a pay-per-view? If that was a pay-per-view, I'm not paying any money to MMA. I don't fuck with MMA. I don't care about it. If Amanda Nunes ain't on that card, I ain't watching it. The reason why I said that it's forcing their hands is that they're going to have to get it, that they can risk losing fans. What did I say? Did I say UFC? What did I say? MMA? I said something else. Yeah, it was pay-per-view. I ain't paying pay-per-view for no for MMA. Please, dude, I don't like watching men roll around on the ground hugging each other in tight-ass pants, dude. That shit ain't appealing to me. You know what I mean? Like, one of the things that I like about boxing, like one of the things that make boxing palatable to me is that they are not rolling around on the ground in what looks like underwear. Let me make sure I'm not missing something. I think their outfit is it's a little tight hugging and all that. I ain't interested, dog. I like boxing. Seriously, no disrespect to no disrespect to MMA, man. It's good, it's good for the people that like it. I'm not into it, dog. It's the men hugging and rubbing on the air. That shit just looks funny to me. I like boxing. D. Johnson, if he was an imminent threat, then stand your ground applies. Police could have the right to shoot if they feel the person is an imminent threat to others. Dude, but he's running down the fucking street. You can't chase a fucking imminent threat. That's a police officer. That's not standing your ground. That's not standing your ground. You left your ground and went to pursue him. Standing your ground is if you are someone and somebody comes to you, if they go into your house. But guess what? As soon as they leave your house, you're no longer standing your ground. You're chasing them, and you're starting the altercation. That's not standing your ground. You're hunting somebody, and when you catch up to them, oh, you read the sentence wrong. If he was an imminent threat, then stand your ground applies. Police only have the right to shoot if they feel the person is an imminent threat to him or others. Okay, cool. Hey, thanks. Yeah, that shit ain't no stand your ground. Exactly, dude. I'm with you, DJ Einstein. That shit's not imminent ground, dude. Nut huggers and tiny gloves. Yeah, dog. It's just I hate it. I don't do MMA, but I appreciate that people like MMA. But you know what ruined it for me? Why I couldn't support it. Number one, I had like a licensing agreement to write last night, and I haven't written a licensing agreement in shit. I can't recall how long I've even dealt with a licensing agreement. So I had a project that I had to work on all last night, all Saturday evening and on Sunday. So I couldn't mess with it, man. There's a lot of boxing in MMA. I know. I just don't like MMA unless it's the women. I love women's fight. I like women's MMA more than I like men's MMA, and I like women's MMA more than I like as much or more than I like female women's boxing. I like women's MMA. The dude thing, it's just I'm just not down with it. It's just and I've watched it. It just doesn't motivate me, man. It's not. I don't really like it that much, to tell you the truth. But you know, I can appreciate that other people like it. Amanda Nunes, yeah, I rock to Amanda Nunes. I'll watch women. I'll watch the women fights. I don't really like it, but I feel it just so you think it's not crazy. I mean, I'm consistent with that. Like tennis, I prefer women's tennis to men's tennis. I think that you tripping, man. I ain't tripping. Shit, I don't like it. What you want me to do? I don't like it. The grappling portion of it, the kicking part of it, I'm not big on it. I've watched several, and it just didn't grab me like that. Boxing, I like boxing better. You know what I mean? But the women's, I box with the women. The women boxing, women's MMA, I'll buy a pay-per-view if it's women's MMA. If like Amanda Nunes or Holly Holmes or what's her name? Whatever the blonde chick's name, Vinchenko. I can't remember her name. Yeah, I rocks with them. KP from KC. Pauli don't know that his people were invaded by the Moors. I guess he really thinks he's oh, he knows. He's just a liar, man. Dude, first of all, I only got so much time for fucking morons. You know, and you really can be very knowledgeable in what you do and be a moron in something else. You know? So, I mean, the idea that he would say racial oppression doesn't exist is fucking ridiculous. Now, listening to OG Boxing Talk, I hear that he texted Fred from Barbershop Conversations, and he meant that systematic racism doesn't exist. What other kind of racism is there besides the one that he says doesn't exist? It's like, does his understand? I don't get people, man. Well, I do get it. I just think people got a real short view of what we're talking about. Dude, you're talking about systematic racism is this. What up? What's going on, Anthony Jones? Oh, Judah B said MMA is cool. I don't want to go out of my way to watch. I won't go out of my way to watch it. I like Nunes and Jones. I'll watch them, but never paid. Yeah, this is kind of where I am with that. I mean, Shevchenkov, thank you. Let me live 1985. Shevchenko, yeah, I'll rock with her too. I like her. She can throw. And ain't bad to look at. But here's my thing with this whole this racism thing, like the definition of it. Race. Have you ever heard the phrase that race is racism? Like, I don't think people get how entrenched racism is in your everyday life. And I think a good way to think about it is this, that race is racism. Wherever you hear of if you think about it like that, you will understand how widespread it is. First, and this is why I think it's important that you think about that phrase, that race is racism. Because race is a construct that was developed to put human beings in different categories and then assign attributes to each of those categories. That's what racism is. That's what it is in its nutshell. It is separating human beings into a concept that is totally non-biological and completely a social construct to define them by those terms. So if anything that purports to separate people into those different categories is a component of the system of racism. That racism is separate from white supremacy, right? So first thing that you do is you break people down into races. If you believe in your heart of heart that different races of people exist, right? That I am not the same type of a black person is not the same type of person as a white person is, and then a white person is a completely different type of being than a Asian person is. You are experiencing the concept of racism. Where white supremacy comes into it is that after you break up people into those groups, white being one, that the white group should be supreme over the other groups. So the first thing is that you break the construct, you break one group of people, humans, into 4 different categories and then assign them characteristics, which is lazy, shiftless, prone to capriciousness, right? That's black people. The yellow man, obstinate. The white race, nice, angelic, loving, and ruled by law. You know what I mean? Those were the groups that people were broken up into, and they use those things as a justification to allow Europeans to dominate everybody else. That is what the system of racism is. How it is expressed is the results of it, or the different expressions of those beliefs fall into different areas. So you'll see it in boxing. You will see it in athletics. I mean, you'll see it in law. You'll see it in religion. You'll see it in politics. You'll see it in all kind of different ways. But if you fundamentally believe that human beings belong in different categories, you accept the major tenet of racism. The systems are developed to handle certain problems, but they are developed within that construct, right? And people, when you believe that basically about human beings, then you're going to apply that in every area of your life. So you see it in different systems. And so for him to say there is no systematic racism is fucking ridiculous, because that's where you see it most often and most prominently, in systems. Because in systems, you have repeatable and predictable results, and these things keep happening over and over again, and you know that they're going to happen over and over again, which tells you that it's systematic. If it was the opposite of systematic, it's ad hoc. That one person might feel like that over here, one person might feel like that over there. Every once in a while, this will happen, or every once in a while, that'll happen. But it's ad hoc, right? A system is something that is repeatable and predictable, and it's repeatable and predictable. And when you see things that are predictable and repeatable, that's evidence of them being systematic. So, Pauli, shut the fuck up. Like, Justin State to get my cash. Much love in super chat. The one thing I like about MMA is there is no ducking. Nah, because they all wrapped up in the same contract. What's going on, Burgess Meredith? Prince Nazir said, true white supremacy Italian is not Caucasian, and didn't AB whoop that ass, if I remember right. Oh, he whooped that ass. But dude, look, even though, get rid of the word Caucasian, okay? Just when you're talking to me, get rid of that word, because it's not a real word. That's just some pseudo-scientific term used to describe white people. That's what that means. There is no such thing as they are not Caucasians. Okay, Caucasians are a group of people that live in the Caucasus Mountains who are called Caucasians. And the Caucasian skull of one of those persons was the skull that they based the quote unquote white race under. And they used the skull of a Caucasian woman and called it the most beautiful skull. Dude, this shit is fucking pseudoscientific bullshit. The whole concept of human beings being in different races is bullshit. We're all one group of fucking people, man. Literally, we're one group of people, man, that really don't even have that much genetic diversity between us. It's just the shit is fucking stupid. But if you believe that it's that basic essence that you believe that is the core of racism. Okay, just like sexism. Sexism is believing that there are fundamental differences between a man and a woman, and that the jobs that they do, the lives that they live, are and the rules that apply to them are a result of natural differences between men and women. And if you truly believe that, then that's a key determinant to whether or not you are a quote unquote sexist or not. It's not whether or not you like women or don't like women. You know what I mean? Like you didn't like her or whatever. No, it's you think that she's different than you. She can't run a business. She shouldn't be able to drive a car. She shouldn't be able to go to work. You know, she should only be barefoot and pregnant for the rest of her life. Why? Because she's a woman. You know what I mean? It's not that you don't like your mother or like your daughter or hate them or want to call them names. It means that you believe that they have basic different functions within society, and they should be limited to and limited by those functions, or you should be limited by those functions. That's what that is. That's what racism is. And it's not, I don't like you because some nigga stole my car last week. So, because that could just be, you see somebody with dark skin, they stole your car. As a consequence, you don't trust people with dark skin because you've seen them steal your car. That is bigotry. That is prejudice. You're prejudging somebody based on their skin color or based on their color. Not that you believe that there's some innate difference between the people. That's just something like, dude, Pauli, just shut the fuck up and talk boxing, man. You have no clue you don't even know. Even his fucking excuses make it sound like you don't know what the fuck he's talking about. It's just motherfucker is just amazing to me. It's just amazing. Dude, prejudice and racism is not the same thing. It's not. You cannot be, maybe you can be prejudiced without being a racist. Now, you might not be able to be racist without being prejudiced, right? All racists are prejudiced, but not everybody prejudiced is a racist. You understand what I mean? Fannon, have you heard of a guy named Steven Crowder? He is a right wing who believes that racism doesn't exist and is a huge fan. You would body bag him in a debate. Dude, he doesn't. Look, man, these dudes are talking to their audience. They very well may not believe it, though, because they don't see it. How do you believe? If you never experienced something and you believe that you're personally a rational human being, then you're going to believe that everything that you believe is based off of experience or based off, off of you making a decision, or coming to a conclusion based on things that you've observed. I mean, the fact that they'll say it doesn't exist, that's bullshit. But they more than likely know they're bullshit. However, that's why I just go with the definition. I believe that racism is dead when they take that shit off the birth certificate. When you take that shit off of birth certificates and you remove every reference to human beings being in races, then I will say, okay, then maybe there is no racism, because I never hear anybody talk about race. I never hear anybody. When I go and I fill out a job application, I don't have to check black and you don't check white, right? When there's no different categories of human beings that you get to choose between on censuses and you only leave your name, then maybe I'll believe that people are serious about getting rid of that. You know what I mean? But they treat race as if it is as real as sex or more real than sex. If you really listen to them, because if you listen, do you recall? And one thing that really showed me that, and I know I've said that on chats before, taking it off paper won't change anything. It's been embedded for 100 years. Well, I'll believe they're serious about it when they do that. When they do that, then I'll believe that they're serious about dismantling it. But as long as you continue to refer to yourself as white and refer to other people as black, I believe that you are still engaged in the practice of racism. You're not literally white. I've never met a person that is literally white. I've never met anybody that is literally black. Never heard of it. And then they even mix up nationality with race. So what is a race? Is Mexican a race? It's the shit. The whole idea is so muddled up. You know what I mean? Where you can have a woman, you can literally have a child, right? You can have, look at this scenario. You have two mixed race kids, two mixed race parents, right? One being what's her name? Bonet, Lisa Bonet, right? Lisa Bonet, and what's her husband's name? Can't remember her. What's her husband's name? Roxy Roker's son. God, Doug, what is his name, dude? Lenny Kravitz. That's my wife is in the other room. Lenny Kravitz. Okay, so those two people are both biracial, right? But they have a child. The child is black. It's not biracial anymore. It becomes black. No. That's not her. That's not who she had the baby by. That's somebody that she married. That's like the Samoan dude she married. No, it's just the shit is just it's complete bullshit. Everybody should be classified as America because that's how most people in other countries look at us. Yeah, not Jason Momoa. That's the Aquaman dude. That's the Aquaman dude. But anyway, this shit's it's just race is racism, dude. And as long as you experience it and people get categorized in it, that's what it is. But look, this is how serious it is. Do you remember when Lenny Kravitz? Do you remember when y'all remember Rachel Dozar and Caitlyn Jenner? I always bring this up, but that shows you how much bullshit this is. Caitlyn Jenner, whether or not you're a man or a woman, is an objective fact. Whether or not you're male or female what's going on, Jesse Kumba, is an objective fact. It's an objective fact. Objective. You either have a dick or you do not. One or the other. Now, you might have some hermaphrodites and say, you got to cut one off or fix it and choose, right? But outside of hermaphrodites, you literally are either a male or a female. So are men better at raising sons than women? I don't think so. Hold on. I don't know what that is. I'll get to that. You kind of hit me with left field from that, but not off the top of my head. No, I think you need both men and women. And that just depends on the person. I think there are women that are terrible parents and men that are terrible parents. And there are men that are great parents and females that are great parents. You'd be best off if you have both. That's my thought on the matter. But anyway, you say, yeah, I remember that bullshit. Rachel Dozar and Bruce Jenner, still shaking my head on them too. Yeah, but watch this. Look at how they were treated. The man who is objectively a male can become a female. It's his choice. Even though sex is objective. You either have it or you don't. Race, which is completely fucking subjective. Completely subjective, which can be proven by debates that people have over whether or not Rashida Jones should be playing the wife of Kenya Burris on Black AF, right? A whole bunch of people pissed off she's playing the role, even though she's black. You know what I mean? But is she black? Is she not black? We don't know. You know what I mean? But watch this. That is subjective. Sex is objective. But in the case of sex, they get to choose whether or not they are objectively female. It's only objective. They turn it around to sex being subjective and race being objective. Because everybody treated Rachel Dozar like she was the biggest lying nut job in the world because she said she wasn't white, that she was black. But yet, And in order to prove that she's not black, you need her DNA. You need to test her DNA, and you need to make sure you don't find nothing that says West African in there. But with your boy Jenner, he literally ain't did nothing but stick some bubble. He didn't do shit but stick some plastic in his chest, and everybody has to respect his decision. It just tells you how strong the idea of race is. It's more strong and more objectively true in the mind and people's minds than what somebody's sex is. It's like you can literally see a picture of a man or a female. I'll do it with a female. Literally see a picture of a female with breasts and vagina, and she can tell you, "Oh, I'm a dude," and you got to respect it. She gets to change her birth certificate to male. She gets to piss in bathrooms. She gets the whole nine because she is now male. A boy says he's a female. Hey, he gets to run in the track athletes and all that. He gets to run in the track events and all that. That's how. But yet you cannot say that you are white. If I said tomorrow I feel like a white guy, they would be like, you cannot be white. Even look at people like Andre Ward. Andre Ward literally got a white daddy. He can't choose whether or not he's white or not. The most he can get is that he can choose not to be black and say he's biracial, but he can't say he's white. That's how much that shit is protected. That is racism, friends. That's racism, where something that is completely subjective becomes objectively true in the minds of human beings and is treated as if it is a real thing. But all it really is just a way to divide human beings into different groups and then put them in a caste. And conveniently enough, the purveyors of that whole idea of human beings separated into race are the people that wind up having the greatest benefit from it, because the definition of their race is very fortuitous. They are organized. They have manifest destiny. You remember manifest destiny? The idea that it is the white man's job, and because of what they were endowed with, it was their responsibility to control all realms of men. In order to get that off, you had to separate men and women into different races of human beings. That's what racism is. It's not whether or not you have a feeling that you like somebody or you don't like somebody. You know what I mean? There's a bunch of niggas I don't like. A bunch of them. A bunch. I can name hands full of dudes I don't like. Okay? That does not mean that doesn't make me a racist because I don't like because there's black people I don't like. It might mean I'm prejudiced or I'm an asshole, but that's not what it means. You live in the system of racism. And the system of racism is one where you separate people into groups of races, assign attributes to each one of those races, and then you have a social, economic, political structure that aligns with that, which just so happens allows people that associate themselves with the white race to run everybody else's business, and because of the nature of human beings, puts them in a position to be able to mistreat people however and whenever the fuck they want to, including driving down a fucking street, seeing somebody jogging, making a determination that they may have stole something, and then going to kill them because that's your right. And Pauli Malignaggi tried to defend it by saying, well, not so quick, player. Not so quick, player. It could have been racist on the other way. Well, why, Pauli? Why would it have been racist? What exactly? Explain to me how the fact that the guy looked into a house in a neighborhood makes him a racist. Does that make any fucking sense to you all at all? Does it make any sense? No, Pauli. No, player, Pauli. Because you're talking out the side of your fucking neck, dude. Just shut up. Keep your shit in your pocket like everybody else does. You don't see Steve Farhood out there saying stupid shit like that. I know Steve Farhood is sitting there like, God damn, Pauli, shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. You ain't got to say any of that shit. Why are you saying any of that? Like any of it? Why? You can't control your emotions, Pauli, player Pauli. You can't sit there and be a quiet bigot in the corner. Just be a quiet bigot in the corner and talk boxing. When you start bouncing your fucking lips together, that's when you get in fucking trouble. Okay? Even if the dude did steal something, murder isn't a reasonable action for stealing. Of course it's not. Of course it's not. But here's the thing. I don't give a fuck if you're looking for a justification. Pauli making that statement tells you that he is looking on the lookout for a justification for some hick-ass dude murdering a black man in the middle of a fucking street, in the middle of the street. He's justifying it because the guy looked in somebody's house. That tells you. Now, let me ask you a question then. If that is his rationale, say that's Pauli's rationale, okay? Hey, you need to look at all of the evidence. You need to look at all of the evidence in this scenario, right? And since Pauli looked at all the evidence that he has, and he found that the guy that got shot had looked into a house on the block, and that reasonably caused concern in the minds of the two guys that subsequently chased this man down and shot him. He must believe if you're in his neighborhood and you look in his neighbor's house and then walk down the street, that he should have the right to go grab his gun and hunt your ass down in the middle of fucking Bensonhurst and kill you. That must be what he believes, because if he believes it in the case that we're discussing, he must, and you apply those same facts to a situation in his own neighborhood, he must believe that that is okay. And that if somebody were to get killed after looking in his neighbor's window, that person would have been the racist and not the person that hunted him down, got in their truck, stopped what they were doing, got their shotgun, jumped into a truck, and chased this person down while they were running away, clearly running away, not trying to hurt anybody, trying to go away, that they stopped them and shot him. That he must believe that that is okay in Bensonhurst. Guess what happens in Bensonhurst? Shit like that. Shit like that. Except for they don't need to think you're stealing something. They just think that you could possibly be in that motherfucker trying to steal something. Or be in there and bring down and looking for a house trying to bring down their property value, which they may consider stealing. Oh, you ain't stealing my money, because if you move in here, you're going to drive down the price of my house, which means I might be underwater instead of having some equity. Boom, boom, you die. That's fucking Pauli, dude. That's Pauli. See, Eric Jenkins said, Fannon, hey, facts, Fannon, the house had no windows, doors. Damn, doesn't even, dude, that, I don't get, dude, that shit could have been fully fucking lived in. It could have been fully lived in. They could have been having a party on the front yard. That man could have walked straight past little kids, stuck his head in the window, looked in the window, and then walked away and started going down the block. If somebody party would have grabbed a gun and chased him down the street and killed him, their ass should go to jail too, because they were not under any threat. They didn't know anybody. And you can't say, well, I thought maybe he was going to go out and commit another crime. First of all, I didn't commit a crime. And second of all, people that walk by you every day might be going off to commit crimes. People walk by you every day on their way to go commit a crime. Somebody walk right by your ass. Hey, how you doing? Where you going? Oh, go shoplift something out this store. You don't get the right to shoot them. You see somebody in your neighborhood that was a child molester or something. You're like, oh, and he walked, and you see him walk by a park. You don't get the right to kill him. You're like, oh, he was a child. This dude is on the list of child predators in the neighborhood. He walked by a park, and I saw him look at a kid, so I followed him. So I followed him to where he goes, and I shot him. You don't get to do that shit, because you're a fucking danger to society when you do that. These people need to be put away forever, because they are I usually agree with you, but I see now that you've been reading too much Marxist nonsense. I don't give a fuck whether you agree with me, ever. And what the fuck does Marxism have to do with any of this conversation we just had? You fucking idiot. If you're talking to me, I doubt you've ever read Marx. Number one, what's the name of his fucking book? What's the name of his book? And have you read it? You dumb motherfuckers talking about Marxist nonsense. When have I talked at all about any type of fucking economic theory in this conversation at all? Have I mentioned capitalism in this conversation? Have I ever? No, you're just talking dumb shit. You figure, oh, well, let me just throw some, oh, you're a communist out there while you're talking about racism. The fuck out of here, dude. She deleted her comment. I never even said anything about it. I usually agree with you, but you talk about this Marxist shit. Hey, dude, you want your fucking socialism, though. I bet your ass take that fucking check, huh? Hey, how many of y'all turning down your stimulus checks? Brenda, you turning down your stimulus check? You turning down your stimulus check? That's socialism. You're going to take Social Security? You get old, you're going to take Social Security, you're going to turn that check back in. That's socialism. But hey, don't let that get in the way of your dumb shit. Yeah, get the fuck out. I didn't even mention any of that shit. But you've been talking this. Oh, I will talk about it. I think this shit's stupid. I do. That's me. But you believe what you think. I think that having one person, having a system where millions of people can starve, but yet one man has more money than millions and millions of people that are starving to death. Yeah, dude, I think that shit's off kilter a little bit. I think that there's plenty of resources in the world for every fucking body to be able to live a productive life and a happy life. I absolutely do. There's enough food, there's enough water, there's enough everything. But you know what there's also too much of? Selfish motherfuckers. Selfish hoarding fucks who want more for themselves than they could ever use. And what's worse than those is the ignorant motherfuckers that actually think that they're going to get to the point where they're one of them. Dumbasses. Dude, you 50, you 60 years old waiting for when you're going to be a fucking billionaire. Get the fuck out of here, man. Anyway, Bogart Skill, don't let any host sidetrack your point. They say it's called the American Dream. Yeah, and you know what the saying is about the American Dream? It's the American Dream because you got to be asleep to believe it. That's exactly, because you got to be asleep to believe that shit. Come on, man. But you do you. That's you. That's you. That's not me. Okay? I mean, that you do you. I'll do me. I'll have my opinion about the system that we live in. You have your opinion about the system that we live in. The fact of the matter is, ain't neither one of us going to do shit about it. Okay? I ain't broke. Okay? Let me tell you, I'm not broke. I have a nice car. I've got a nice house. I get to do what the fuck I want to do for the most part. I ain't never been hungry a day in my life. Knock on wood. And I hope it continues to be that way for the rest of my life. So it's not necessarily in my interest to say that shit. I am a beneficiary of that system. I'm just telling you, I don't think that there's a reason for a whole bunch of people to be starving. And I think it is perverse that Jeff Bezos is worth $50-60 billion. I think that shit is ridiculous. And there's nothing you can do on this planet to deserve that much of the resources that are available. And it's just a fucking way for people to hoard a bunch of shit. Even the way that you guys treat people during this shit going on, they want people to get back to work. They don't want you to get too much money so that the disease can go away, right? They just let's lock everybody down in their house, make sure everybody has food, and everybody's lights are on and nobody has to worry about any of this stress, right? We'll have some people out there who are essential delivering food and all that, and we'll make sure everybody has the money to pay for it. But you can't. And you know why you can't? Because if you give people all that money, then they're not going to go to work for the people that want to hoard all the damn money. Because how are you going to entice them to work in your sweatshops? How are you going to entice them to take? They wouldn't, because they'd be like, no, I mean, I'm straight. No, pay me a livable wage, and then, yep, I'll absolutely go to work. But that's just how I see it. You know what I mean? I agree, Fannon, but I invested in Amazon so that I have a piece of the pie. I mean, you got to live in the situation you're living in, you know? He said his wife got $50 billion and all she did was divorce him. Dude, that's perverse. That's perverse. Perverted. That's perverted. Why do you need it? And something is going to be really wrong with the people that have it, because they're not living in the same world that anybody else is living in. But that's just my take. That's just my take. You guys do what the fuck you want to do, you know? Restaurants throw away food daily while people starve on the streets. Yeah. Dude, there's a meat shortage because there's a meat shortage. There could have been a meat shortage because the farmers are killing off their livestock, because there's not what I think they sold to restaurants and to supermarkets, because the demand to the restaurants decreased. They wind up producing less meat. And because they produce less meat, drives up the price of meat, and there's now a meat shortage. Dude, the whole shit just seems like it's just out of whack. The whole employee-employer relation, dude, just, you know. Anyway, man, no one has earned $1 billion. Billionaires are due to inherited from hoarders and paying below the living wage. It's inhumane. It's silly. It's just silly. Because at a certain point in time, you don't need anything else. You are keeping things from other people. Is what fair? Should we take from others that we don't work for, brother? Is that fair? Should we take from other things that we don't work for? Look, man, here's my thing about this whole work concept. I think that everything on this earth is everybody's on this earth. Nobody created anything. It's this thing. This is food. This is land. This is water. This is sunshine that was put on the earth for everybody. That's what I think, because no man put it there. No man built the land. No man built the water. No man built the air. We're all born into it. But when agriculture started, people started coming up with hierarchical structures for human beings, right? Because once you started agriculture, you started basically accumulating a lot of food, accumulating a lot of things. So there became a social structure, a hierarchical structure, a social structure to determine who gets what of the things that we store, who gets what. And that's the beginning of this, the priest, the rich man, the serf, you know, all of that shit. I just think it's just, you know, a little bit inequitable, but that's just how I see. No one is earned. Okay, let me see. How about businesses built from the ground up? What about businesses built from the ground up? I don't understand the question. I don't understand. I mean, what about it? But anyway, I have a cousin who owns a Chick-fil-A. They have thrown away all the food that's been sitting there for 15 minutes. It's ridiculous. I mean, yeah, they're doing that for health reasons, right? But, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, but Burgess Meredith, I don't know what you're talking about. I like businesses. You got to learn. This is where we're not, that's the system that you live in. There's just something wrong with the fact that so many people have to go hungry while so many people are wealthy. I'm not going to sit here and say that I have a solution for every problem that's out there. But what Father Aboriginal said with employees equal slaves, that is pretty much the same division of work as slavery. And that was the shift. The shift went from serfs, right? Like feudalism in Europe, where the lords owned the land, and they owned pretty much, and the peasants were tied to the land, and they had to pay homage to the lord of the land. That was pretty much the division between is noble and serf, right? Then you have in slavery, you have another division. You have one between owner and slave. In this one, we have employer, employee. It's still the division of labor and the relationship between, in the case of slavery, the slave owner and the slave, and in feudalism, between the lord and the serf, and in capitalism, it's the employer employee. I mean, just think about how much the employer, what amount of effect they have in your life, and how much little you have to say about what you do when you're on the job. So when you have your own business, to a certain extent, you become your own employer, which means, you're not living underneath the same whims that you would if you were employed by somebody else, but you still have that relationship between you and the person that, you might do business for, whether you're a subcontractor or whether or not you're contracting, directly with people who are your customers. But in that scenario, you become the employer. And then as soon as you have somebody that works for you, there's that employer-employee relationship between you and them. And if they become dependent upon you for everything that you do, right? If they're dependent upon you and what you do and the decisions that you make for their financial security and their survival, then you're going to be able to, in a lot of instances, wield a lot of the same power that a slave owner wielded over a slave. That's why sexual harassment is such a serious thing in the workplace, right? Because if you are a man and you are running the business and you decide who gets the promotions, you decide whose ideas get heard in tough times, you decide who gets fired, who keeps their job and who doesn't keep their job, but you want to have, sexual favors being one of the things that you consider, right? In doing that, then you have a really, very risky relationship with a female in your office, where they might feel that they have to do certain things in order to keep themselves in your good graces. And their employers mistreat that shit all the time. They mistreat employees all the time. Yeah, it's definitely complicated. Yeah, people think that they're the next billion, so they advocate for slave master relationships in business. Dumb as hell it is, because it's not going to be you. It's not going to be you. I mean, that's the people talk about the statistics of becoming a professional basketball player are low. Dude, the percentage chances of you becoming a billionaire are way small. You know what I mean? But anyway, man, I don't want to get too much on that, man. I already got way too much on that. Lowland Prophet said, solution to every race is give every race their land back and let them develop it on their own. Look, man, the problem is going to solve itself. That's my belief. And people ain't going to like how that shit gets solved, because the same thing that put you here can take you off. And that's where I say, like I got into it a little bit earlier in another video, man. Dude, sometimes the people that you think are winning ain't winning. These dudes, sometimes you think the people that are winning ain't really winning. They may be winning the battle, but dude, it's a long war, man. It's a long war. Forever is a long ass time, dude. And generally speaking, shit that are built uneven, right? Shit that's built out of balance and out of whack fall apart. The issue is, though, The issue though is that what's going to take it to change. And this is like, man, I'm really fucking up this whole live stream, like talking about this. I wanted to talk about boxing. I didn't even get a chance to talk about Steven Espinoza and the MMA, the thing that he said in the MMA. But look, man, the shit's gonna fall apart when middle level people get sick of that shit. That's when it's gonna change. And I don't think it's too complicated. It's going to be when people that are like the people who are like in the middle class, or the people who are in the military, people who are in the police department, people whose job it is to execute the laws, when they decide that the shit's out of whack, that's when the whole fucking thing falls apart, dude. Because I was thinking about like the conversation about like people think like you need to have uprisals from the bottom up. I don't think those work, because there's too much machinery and there's too much machinery in the middle to keep for that to happen. And it's too hard for that many people to organize. What would have to happen is that the middle class is the people that are the doctors, the lawyers, the judges, the military, the people that are in that category of people, they have to give up on the system. And when they give up on the system, the shit will collapse over right away. But Espinoza was just crying about what Dana White did with the coronavirus. And there's this attorney out of Canada that said something to the effect that, that that the MMA fighters were all happy with the health conditions, the health safety measures. Yeah, Father Original, there's no such thing as a middle class. Yeah, but there are such things as generals in the army. Generals in the army is the best example. Once like the military says, nah, we're not doing this shit anymore, that's when everything falls, because then you can just walk to their houses. You know what I mean? That's the problem that they risk. They risk that our kids that go into the military, that they are like, nah, this shit is not working. We're not doing this anymore. And if they back off of it, then the shit's not going to work, because what'll happen is then all the people from the poor neighborhoods can walk right to the rich neighborhoods and snatch them out their houses. But you got to get that layer of protection out of the way first. And the only way that is going to happen is if they decide they decide on their own accord that the system is just too oppressive, that this is not what they want to represent, that's not what they work for, and in order for that to happen, the government has to do something so egregious and so over the top that they can't stomach it. You know what I mean? It looked like I saw fans in the stands. I don't know. Oh, how is MMA forcing boxing's hand? Because if MMA keeps putting up fights, if they keep putting up fights and they keep doing these shows, boxing is going to have to respond, because eventually, if it goes on too long, people are going to start watching more and more MMA fights and become attracted to MMA, and boxing will lose even more of their fan base to the MMA. So they've got to push it. That's the only reason that I could think, like, why would Steven Espinoza be so pissed with Dana White and putting this show on? It's because they want to be able to do the same thing, but they're not willing to go yet. And they can't go yet because they don't have the same structure. They don't have the same structure as the UFC does. The UFC doesn't have as many moving parts. Dana White pretty much is the UFC. So all of their fighters are in one place. They can have them fight on one network. They can have them fight in the same venue, and they don't pay the fighters nearly as much money, so they can get it rolling. And we don't care. And people that are fans of combat sports that want to see combat sports have something to watch. While boxing has all these moving parts, right? They have Matchroom box. They have Matchroom, Top Rank, PBC, main events, the PBC. Yeah, UFC has a monopoly, so they're able to execute it. And where boxing is much more decentralized and harder to pull off. So they're going to have to do something, and more than likely, you're going to see boxing jump out there very soon. I expect to see an announcement for a fight taking place in the UK in the next 3 weeks. I don't think it'll go a month before we hear of a fight card being made in the UK. The UK, my understanding is the UK already improved indoor sports. So they're going to start running with that pretty soon. And the MMA is making it even in putting more pressure on boxing to make it happen. Now, the thing about where Steven Espinoza was criticizing Dana White, dude, I don't think he has that shit didn't even make. I mean, it made sense to me, but he was really, really reaching, really, really reaching on it. Said I expect DAZN to up first because they're bleeding from. Oh yeah, they're bleeding badly, terribly. But that's just my take on it, man. And to the person that has an issue with me saying that I Marxist, dude, Marx didn't create the idea of a community. That's how families are operated. You would never run your family like the United States runs their economic system. You would never do it because just off the jump, you know it's unfair, and you would never do it. You, as a father and mother, you would not say, "Okay, we are going to give our daughter got good grades, so we're going to give our daughter an entire room. We're going to give her own entire room with her own refrigerator, right? With her own refrigerator, with 2 beds in it, right? With 2 beds in it, 2 bathrooms, and give her a car." But my son, because he didn't do his homework, I'm not going to feed him. I'm going to make him sleep outside on the street. I'm not going to provide him with any. If he needs to go to the doctor, I'm not going to take him. You would never do that. No matter what the grades are of your daughter and your grades of your son, you are a household and you are going to distribute the goods of those households based on need. My son is taller than my daughter, so he's going to need the bigger bed because he's bigger than she is, right? He needs a bathroom. No, he didn't do his homework, but I'm not going to make him pee on a tree and give her 2 bathrooms when she doesn't need but 1. You would never, ever run your house like that. So why would you think it would be logical for us to run a bigger house like that? That's what the concept of communalism is. Because you remember, it is a progression from a monarchy with feudalism to capitalism, right? From slavery and capitalism to socialism, which would be distributing goods based on need and not resource, right? Based on need. That's the difference between, and I don't see that there's anything wrong with saying that, hey, with a society that would based on the people that need the most constructive help, getting the most constructive help. And if you don't need something, why should you have it when somebody doesn't have it? If I don't need glasses, need glasses, why should I have 500 pair of glasses in my house? While somebody across the street is where there's 10 houses of people that can't afford the glasses, so they don't get them. But I have as many as I will ever need. That shit is called fucking gluttony. It's out of balance, and that's why you have so many problems as a result of it. Because fundamentally, it's out of balance. But that's just how I see it, and that's not the way the world operates. So don't get mad at me. Juniper, socialism has to come and save capitalism every other year. Yeah, it does. When the banks fail, what happens? The community comes in, prints more money, and gives it to them so they don't fall apart, right? Isn't that the government? Isn't that the government, which is supposed to be of the people, by the people, for the people, interfering in the market? Of course it is. But y'all do you. I'll do me. DAZN asking Liam to fight, paying for them IOUs. You know that, dog. Anyway, man, that's just my take on the matter. Y'all feel free to believe however you want to believe. It's all good with me. But much love to everybody in the chat and everybody in the super chat. Make sure you go check out my man KQKC boxing coming next. I did not intend this to be this type of conversation. Rot God said there are only two paths, the material and the spiritual. No doubt. I agree with that. But you know, keep singing by it, and we keep suffering by it. But like I said, capitalism isn't treating me too badly. I'm comfortable. I just know that my grandkids might not be so comfortable, especially when you layer what the fuck Pauli is talking about it on top of it, right? Where people where there are systems in place to mistreat people, and that usually winds up having economic consequences. But that's my take. Much love to everybody in the chat, everybody in the super chat. Y'all make sure you go check out KQKC coming up in about 15 minutes at 1 o'clock. And with that, I'm out. Peace.